Hey guys, Rebel 95, recording live from a local county prison cell. Meant to record yesterday, but I was busy. So, this is actually a fight that I've been kind of wanting to do recently instead of long term. I have this bad habit that I'll plan a fight for like a while and like never get to it, and then I'll see one that I like that's new and shiny, and I kind of want to do that. So, I just, this is what's happening today. So, yeah, this fight is Raphael from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles versus Inosuke from Demon Slayer. Um, so this is actually the second Inosuke fight I wanted to do. The first one was, well, not wanted to do, but the first one that I saw that I liked was Kuma from Afro Samurai. Um, and it's kind of cool, but the thing is, the only real thing they have in common is they have swords and they wear an animal head, which are very like specific things, and I think it's not something to base a fight off. Whereas this is more, you guys know me. I like my characters to match. I don't just want the one elements. Like I am not going to do Raphael versus Electra or Raphael versus Melina. Might do Electra versus Melina, but that's a different. Never mind. So um, let's get started here. So this fight I think is a lot better because I think the characters are just better suited. So Raphael, I don't feel like I should have to explain what a Ninja Turtle is, but this is the age we live in. So Raphael is one of the four Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle brothers who was raised who was exposed to mutagen as a turtle in the sewers of New York, and mutated to become a humanoid turtle hybrid, and under the tutelage of Master Splinter, became a very adept ninja. Now, Raphael is known for a few things. He is known for his weapon, the Sai, which is, the improvised, feudal Japan era farming tool that was turned into a weapon. Um, he is known for his temperament as being angry, right? He's cool but crude. And he is also known for his very aggressive fighting style and his probably being the best fighter. Leo is credited as being the one that would win, as Death Battle demonstrated, because of his strategy and his being a leader and his being more like spiritually powerful. But Raph is definitely like the toughest fighter and the most skilled fighter. Um, and when you're comparing all the other three Ninja Turtles, that's actually a very big accomplishment. So, all of his time is pretty much spent fighting. He's spent his entire life training, continues to train in his free time, and even continues to just pick fights in his free time, where he was a vigilante, the Night Watchman, or the Night Watcher, I think. He trained Casey Jones, or at least tutored kind of Casey Jones. He even became the Shredder in two instances. One where he actually became the Shredder, and then the other where the Shredder was dead, and he kind of took over the mantle as a Shredder wearing his armor, so that the Foot Clan wouldn't know that Shredder was dead or wouldn't think that Shredder was dead, thus to avoid a power vacuum and the Foot Clan kind of running autonomously. Um, but yeah, and as we know from other Death Battle episodes, we can surmise that Raph has small internal organs. He has high muscle density. He has a shell that can protect him. It's a very hard layer shell. And he also has things like shurikens, smoke bombs, what have you. Right? Other than that, the only other instance I could really think of what Raph would have at his disposal would be from Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which they did use in the Leo versus Jason fight, where Leo had teleportation and whatnot. Raph has magic infused tonfa, which allow him to create force fields. The only issue is, I believe they've lost the magic weapons in that series, so I think that kind of disqualifies it from being used by this point. I think they still had them when they used it for Leo, but they don't have them anymore. So personally, I wouldn't include them, but it's not up to me. This fight probably won't happen, but if it did, it's not up to me. One thing he does have, regardless of that, in Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, is the ability to create an astral projection of himself that he can kind of like talk to and interact with. So it's kind of like a second consciousness that doesn't belong to him. He's kind of like copying his consciousness. But I don't know how much of a advantage that really is in this fight. That's more of like an advice thing. Um, but yeah, it's Raphael. Come on. Next, going into um, Inosuke. So Inosuke is a member of the Demon Slayer Corps. He was abandoned as a child and raised by wild boar in the mountain. And because of that, he has kind of like an animalistic, wild child, hot-headed personality. To the extent where when his adopted boar mother died, he cut off her head and decided to go all Cubone with it and wear it as a hat. So, cool. Aside from that, he's also developed many superhuman traits as a result of that. His body in general is very superhuman, being able to move at above human speeds, being able to fight, for huge periods of time, and having very above human strength. He is also able to um, specifically increase his flexibility by dislocating any joint in his body at will. So he can twist himself upside down and whatnot. He can extend his arm to make his punches land. This doesn't seem to hurt him at all. So it's kind of crazy. And he's also able to kind of utilize this fighting style that he was raised with, where he kind of fights, kind of approximates a four-legged creature by like fighting low to the ground and whatnot. Um, yeah, it's kind of weird, but he has a slew of other things. He has increased sense of touch, which he has increased senses all around, but his sense of touch is the most impressive because he can literally like feel your eyes looking at him. He can sense a difference in breathing. He can even create like a sort of spatial awareness where he can sense the location of anything like surrounding him like at once. Problem is he has to kind of like stay still and concentrate for it. Um, his sense of hearing and sight are increased. He even has sort of like a cognitive sixth sense that doesn't account for regular perception. So he can like, without looking at you or hearing you, he can sense your intention, which is kind of weird. But I mean, like, I could tell you Raph was angry and wanted to fight without using that. And yeah, as for his weapons, he uses what are they called? They're two different. They're these kind of like hooked or jagged katana that are designed to like tear away at flesh rather than slice through it. Which comes in handy when he's fighting demons, because a lot of times demons have incredibly dense flesh that's hard to cut through in one tap. So he'd rather just like rip away at them super fast. Um, and he's able to do this very well simply because he's also mastered a technique similar to Tanjiro's breathing, where he can, I think it's called like repetitive action or something, where he can kind of put himself in a mindset of like repeating a mental phrase, and by doing so he kind of like unlocks his body's true potential and gives himself like very superhuman abilities to the point where he can throw and move giant boulders. Um, but yeah, so anyway, going into this fight, this is a very, very close fight, in my opinion. This is very, there's a lot of weird interactions. Like, okay, for instance, one thing I forgot to mention is Inosuke is able to move his organs to avoid, that comes with being able to move his joints and whatnot. He's able to move his organs at will to avoid lethal damage, right? Well, Raphael has the similar sort of thing where his internal organs are very small. And yes, Raphael has dense flesh, but Inosuke's used to that fighting demons. So not really much of an advantage there. If anything, I'd give Inosuke a little bit of an advantage just because of his flexibility in addition to that, and also the fact that his weapon has more reach than Raph's. Things like smoke bombs and stealth and whatnot aren't really going to work because of the spatial awareness. But at the same time, Inosuke has a lack of formal training, where he's kind of developed his own fighting style. Now, it was able to get him into the Demon Slayer Corps, and you could argue that it's kind of like a counter to traditional training. Like it's meant to be used against somebody with traditional training, but at the same time, Raph has spent his entire life training and fighting, and the opponents that these two have fought are actually very similar in terms of like, you know, Raph's faced giant mutants, giant cyborgs, robots, alien dinosaurs, things like that. But the demons that Inosuke has fought are equally as, horrifying. And also, both of these two, like, their greatest accomplishments all are a result of a team. Like, they very rarely do that much on their own. So, how do I decide this? Well, this is a bit of a cop out because I say this a lot, but this is just how a lot of fights. It depends on what they're doing. That whole Rise of the Ninja Turtle stuff from earlier about the force fields, if you give Raph that, I feel like he takes it. I don't feel like there's much Inosuke can really do about like magic force fields. He doesn't have any counter to that, and that's not something that's like there's not too much of a limit on that on Raph's part, so he can kind of just use that as he pleases. Excluding that, like if they don't use that, which I don't think they should to be fair, Inosuke very marginally takes it in my mind. Like Inosuke's definitely the physically superior opponent. And though these two have a lot of check and balances to each other, I think that's ultimately what's going to win him this. And really, I think the greatest attribute Raph has is being a ninja in this case, which is kind of just mitigated, not completely taken away, but mitigated by Inosuke's abilities. And like I said, the training is something that's going to keep Raph alive for a while, but I don't think it's going to be the ultimate determining factor here. Um, I mean, yeah, the size are kind of meant to destroy swords, but so is like a lot of these demons that they fight are meant are kill things with swords. So like it's not like he's never gone against something where swords aren't the best answer. Plus, he's also like headbutted giant creatures into submission. So just the physical strength, I think, is the difference here. So with force fields, Raph takes it. Without force fields, I think Inosuke takes it. Anyway, yeah, Verbal Engine 95. See ya.